Hey everyone, it's time for me to do another self-published book review, and that book is going to be Forging Hephaestus, Book 1 of the Villain's Code by Drew Hayes. This is a superhero fantasy that takes place on Earth, with the main difference being it's common for there to be metahumans. And there are naturally metahumans that become superheroes and metahumans that become villains. Now it's so common that the superheroes, or the capes, are actually part of an organization, and they work with the police. And then on the villain side, you have this guild that basically runs all the crime. They're kind of like the mob or the mafia in that sense. Now back in the day, it used to be a free-for-all. The superheroes were doing everything they could to stop the villains, and the villains were just looking out for themselves. Let's just say it was a pretty violent time when the criminals were just doing what they wanted and the superheroes were doing everything they could to stop them. Lots of injuries and fatalities on both sides, and you can see how this would quickly kind of become one of those things where, are the superheroes actually helping or are they causing more problems? Just like what's played out in Avengers Civil War. So in this world, at this time, the superheroes are a organization. They work with the police and they have to abide by the same laws and rules as everyone else. It's not about what they know, it's what they can prove, and their top priority is protecting civilians instead of taking down villains. It's keep people safe first, arrest the bad guys second. But even then, they have to be able to prove that the person they've captured is who they say they are. And naturally, villains are all wearing masks, so coming up with that proof of person X to this, it can be kind of tricky. Now on the villain side, they've formed this guild and they have a code, thus the series name, Villain's Code. And the point of the Villain's Code is, how can we be profitable without doing damage to ourselves? And one of the things is, like, you can't go out of your way to attack a superhero, and you can't put their friends and family in harm, because that's calling attention from the superhero. The more attention you draw to yourself, the worse it is for the guild. They want it to be like no one knows they're there. They're the invisible hand controlling things that no one can stop. So the less attention called to them, the better. Their goal is get in and out, no one sees them, we all make money, everyone's happy. Civilians are safe, they get to go about their day-to-day life like nothing happened. Superheroes get to keep the civilians safe, and the villains get rich. It's a win-win-win. So as long as all the guild members follow the code that's been written out for them, they'll stay off the radar of the superheroes. And from the superheroes' perspective, if the guild isn't putting people in danger, they're not as concerned about them. They kind of let them get away with more stuff. Now you do also have some metahumans that aren't associated with either. Now some of these people are just trying to stay hidden and live a normal life. Others are villains that aren't part of the guild. Now if that villain happens to step beyond what the guild's code is, the guild will take care of them, because the guild wants to respond before the superheroes do. Reason being, the superheroes don't care and the citizens don't care, are you a guild member or not? It's, you're a villain. And the worse things the villains are doing, the more heightened security will be. So the guild doesn't want that to happen. So you step out of line with the guild, even if you're not a member, the guild's gonna take care of you before the superheroes do. Naturally, with this setup, you have some superheroes that it drives them crazy that not only does the guild exist, but they know where the guild's at, they know who the guild members are, and they just sit back and do next to nothing. They have to catch them in the act, but don't go too far. You do still have to obey the laws. You can't stalk people, you can't just follow them around. You have to respect their rights. And there's also guild members that they don't like that they have a set of rules they have to follow. They're villains. Their whole thought is, I'm a villain, I should be able to do whatever I want. It's no one has the right to tell me what to do. If that was the case, I wouldn't be a villain. I'd be a superhero or a regular citizen because I liked following rules, but I don't. That's why I became a villain, and now you're telling me I have more rules I have to follow? So tension is building on both sides, and this book is going to tell the story of when that boils over. Now, as far as character work goes, the primary, I guess I'll say protagonist, even though she's on the villain side, is Tori. She is built up as being kind of very rebellious, but also a genius, and at the beginning, the guild isn't sure if they want to allow her in because they don't think she can be trusted to follow the code, and they'd rather just get rid of her now before she becomes too strong. One of the things I struggled with this character specifically is that introduction I just gave you. Well, she ends up not being all that rebellious. Now, part of that is her life is in danger. She knows if she steps out of line once, the guild's going to take care of it. There are several examples of her being extremely smart and a great inventor and scientist, but she talks the whole book about this new meta suit that she's building. And she just keeps building up how good this meta suit's gonna be. It's gonna be great, and it's just gonna be this amazing thing. And then when she actually gets to debut it, it didn't seem all that special. So I was kind of disappointed that the character is built up as one thing, but in reality isn't quite there. And again, there are examples of her being a brilliant scientist, just not when it comes to the suit, which is what she spends most of her time focusing on. Overall, I gave the book 5 stars and a score of 82 out of 100, which ties it with Winds of Strife and puts it just above Age of Death by Michael J. Sullivan. So I felt it was a very good book. I really enjoyed seeing all the different superpowers, and yes, you do have some of the basic ones of people that can open portals and are super strong or super fast or can fly, but you also have more unique ones where someone can morph into different dragons, and each of their dragon shapes have different strengths and weaknesses. You have characters that can pull weapons out of video games. You have characters that any type of saying can be used. One of the common sayings is a penny saved is a penny earned, and every time this character doesn't spend money or chooses not to spend money and save it instead, they get that same amount of money added to their savings account. So it's really unique how all these superpowers work together, and they all have strengths and weaknesses, and it's just a fun time. Although with superheroes, it is more lighthearted and more of a fun read. It is not a family-friendly reading. There is quite a bit of swearing in this, so I wouldn't use this for a road trip if you have kids in the car. So that's it for my review. I hope you pick it up and enjoy it, and until next time, bye.